Okay, good morning, Will. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. On this rainy day in Manchester, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. For once in Lincolnshire, it's not raining this week, he said, looking out the window. So, yeah, you're over in Manchester, so things are pretty tough in
Yeah.
Manchester at the moment, I understand from the news.
Yes, I think it's definitely becoming a bit of a hotspot for this so-called second wave of the coronavirus. So yeah, definitely feeling a lot of talk about that in the area at the moment.
Gracious. So, thank you for taking part in this series of interviews, chats I have with some of friends of yours and ex-alumni from Aston, the aim of which is to help the people who are leaving school. Would you, for the benefit of our viewers, Will, please just give us a little bit of background about yourself, about what you do now?
I mean, professionally,
Yes, please. Oh, and
yeah.
personally as well, yeah.
Okay, so my current role is a head of risk and compliance for a small investment company in Manchester, and I've been working in risk and compliance for probably about 10 years now in financial services, so different financial service companies. The one before this was a bank, a well-known Manchester bank called the Cooperative Bank. So getting into risk and compliance probably isn't really something that any person who works in risk and compliance would say they went to university to study to become a risk and compliance professional. But it's kind of an industry that's become a lot more prominent since the 2007-2008 financial crash. So I went to Aston. I did law and I did business at A level, and then I went to do law and business degree at Sheffield Hallam University. That was it was a law degree with an add-on of a few business modules as well. So I think the plan was really to become a lawyer. So I left university having actually enjoyed the business side a bit more than the law side. But nonetheless, I was told you should go and do your LPC, which is like the next kind of step to become a qualified lawyer, is like a postgraduate diploma. It's a year course, so it just costs quite a lot of money. So I went and did that, and then was kind of, again, I sort of value in the course, but I didn't massively have much of a passion for it. But I pressed on to do some applications to become a trainee solicitor. I did get accepted into one company, but unfortunately, the company went under before I started. So having come out of that, I thought, well, I can still go and work in a law firm without the training contract and get some sort of more sort of hands-on experience about whether this is the right job for me. So I went and actually found a job in an internal law firm in a bank called GE Money. So it's their own internal law firm. So it was actually a separate company to the bank, but we were based in their building. And I did enjoy the work. It was very much hands-on litigation work, so dealing with people's personal files every day. So it was very junior work. And as some kind of aspiring junior solicitors might be watching this video, and they will find if they push on with a career that the first couple of years is very much hands-on case file work, files piled high on your desk, and the first couple of years aren't particularly glamorous, but they are rewarding, and you get to learn a lot of different skills. So I was enjoying that, but I was also still very interested in the business side, and I actually took the decision I got offered a job in London in another investment company similar to what I'm working in now, in their internal legal department. So I started working there, and this was in around 2008 when the financial crash started happening, and everyone, for want of a better term, was kicking off and was in a panic about the state of the economy. And it was at this point I actually decided to move to Manchester for reasons with my partner at the time. We wanted to buy a house and be closer to family, so we moved up to Manchester, and I was approached about a job as like an auditor role. So it wasn't really labelled anything apart from internal auditor, and it wasn't purely an internal audit role, but they effectively wanted the business to go through a process of being authorised by the FCA, who are the regulatory body for financial services, and they needed to build a team very quickly to become experts on the FCA requirements and show the FCA that the business had the credentials become approved by the FCA and had that kind of framework in place. So that was my job, really. I hadn't really heard about it, the ins and outs of this job, but it sounded relatively interesting, getting to audit different departments and advise them on rules and regulations, very similar to, you know, what some lawyers might do, but more of a business side of it. So I started working there. I did a couple more postgraduate courses on risk management, and got to learn compliance a bit more. And then since then, the rest is history, really. And moved into, quickly kind of realised that there was a big market for these kind of roles, especially since then. So in London and Manchester, especially, where there are quite big financial hubs, all these financial service companies do have big risk and compliance teams. And it's a very broad term, because the term, especially for a bank, if you imagine the risk in that kind of institution is big. Like that risk is basically what a bank does. It lends money, and it risks it against that person. So is that bank going to get that money back? So that's risk in one sense of the term, but it's also risk in another sense of the term, that things could go wrong in a business operationally with your computer systems, anything like that. So risk is really a very broad term. So there's lots of different departments, lots of different risk specialists in a place like a bank. And then compliance is another arm of risk, so the risk of not adhering to the rules and regulations. So that's where, by working in the bank, that really kind of opened my eyes to such a broad spectrum of knowledge that you could build up by working in these departments, and how important they are to these businesses. So yeah, so here I am, having worked in the bank now. In the current team I'm in now, we're quite a small business. There's about 40 of us, so I had a chance to come in and work with some people who I've worked with before, and they wanted to set up a new risk and compliance team. So I've been here for 2 years, and I've now started to build a team, and I'm head of the department. So yeah, it wasn't a path that I thought I would choose, but it's a rewarding path, and I would advise people who are looking at their career to definitely look at this side of the of financial services if they want a job that is rewarding, and it's a job that gets to involve lots of different stakeholders and businesses as well, because you'll find yourself giving advice on a daily basis on all kinds of topics. So yeah, it's that's where I am now. So
thank you for that very, very comprehensive answer, and a couple of things sort of threaded through there for me, and you'll see them or hear them on other interviews. There's one about you don't always end up in a place for what you thought you would. So the start of your journey may differ, and it's that resilience or that confidence to say, well, okay, I've tried this and maybe it's just not for me, but I'll try something else. And indeed, you know, I believe we're on an ever lifelong path of learning. So it may be that in 5 years' time, you may be doing something different. And the other thing which came about, or that I heard through that, was the if you like, the proliferation of all these industries came about as a result of that other crisis. So in 3 or 4 years' time, there may be jobs or there may be careers based on the crisis that we're in now, or other things which we can't foresee. So it's about, yes, have a dream, have a vision, have a passion, but also be open-minded enough to be able to kind of cope with the unexpected. So brilliant, thank you. Okay, so the Aston School then. What's your fondest memory of the Aston School, or memories, dare I say?
My fondest memory was probably, without wanting to sound too cliche, was just the kids that I formed friendships with. I'm still friends with them today. So I've got, I think there's probably about 10 lads in my class. Well, we're in a few different classes, and we were in sixth form, and I've got a really good core friendship membership group, and we're still all based around the country. So there's a few of us in London. There's 2 or 3 of us in Manchester. and that was the best thing about Aston, is I think it's a real good place. And I don't really understand why, but because a lot of my other friends don't have these kind of core friendship groups in school, is it really managed to forge some good friendships that sort of last for a lifetime. And then in terms of actually being in Aston, I think one of my favourite places to hang out was the sixth form common area. So I don't know if that's still there. And the head of sixth form's office, just being off the common area, and she could hear all kinds of mischief going on in that common room. So that was always good fun.
Okay, I note your legal training precluded you from mentioning any names there, but no problem. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so if you could cast your mind back also to when it was your time to leave school, what was going through your mind? What sort of thoughts, processes were going on there, please, Will?
I think it was, I just remember not being particularly sure about what I wanted to do, and perhaps not being entirely confident, or I guess it was a big leap from going from a sleepy old town like Market Raisin to university. And I know not everyone goes to university, and there are great options now in apprenticeships and the like, but it's just that kind of uncertainty. You've had this kind of security blanket over you, and you've had your friends and your teachers and your daily routine, and everything's sort of given to you, and this is what you're going to learn today. And then it's really right, I've got to narrow this down now into something that I want to do. And but also you kind of feel a bit of pressure from family to take certain paths. So I felt, I don't know if scared's the wrong word, because I think there was excitement in there as well, but it's a level of kind of, oh, this is a really big step in life. So and I think you kind of, at the time you probably put quite a lot of importance on, oh, I need to make the right choice now. But looking back, I think it doesn't matter what choice you make at the time, because there is scope to change. Even if you make sure you get a decent enough degree, obviously work hard. But if you have a law degree, for example, you don't have to become a lawyer. You can change your mind. There are a lot of transferable careers out there. So yeah, that's how I remember that.
Okay, thanks. So again, the message I'm sort of taking there, hopefully for the students watching, is it's healthy to be nervous, and that apprehension. I appreciate what you said about being scared, but it's about not letting it beat you. It's about using it, and also saying to yourself, well, okay, it is a big time, it is a big leap, but okay, I'm going to take this. I've got this. Nervous apprehension, but be open-minded enough and confident enough to take the leap, knowing that you're not committing yourself to something which you can't later change. So again,
exactly.
thanks for that. You've mentioned transferable skills a few times, Will, so that's really helpful to us, because one of the things that we want to try and get through the lessons is the importance of transferable skills. And the other tension there is, if you like, if you're sat in school now, you're thinking, well, what transferable skills have I got? So could you just give us the thoughts of Will Murphy on transferable skills and school and jobs, please?
Sure. Well, I think first and foremost, your degree is really, really important on your CV, and to some extent in your knowledge going forward in your career. But in terms of transferable skills, I think I'm talking about more day-to-day ability to do things like communicate, and have emotional intelligence with people. So don't worry too much about being an absolute boffin in a certain area. Great if you are an absolute boffin on a certain subject, that will get you far, but transferable skills are more your day-to-day ability to deal with people and to get things done quickly and efficiently. So and communication in all manners. So presenting, having the confidence to present, having the confidence to present to senior stakeholders, and having the confidence to write a good paper or report. So these are all transferable skills. And if you don't have the knowledge when you go into a job, as long as you've got some good core skills, you can transfer those to any job, because communication is key in all jobs. And other things like managing people, these are all skills that you can transfer from place to place. So don't worry too much about your core subject knowledge.
Great, thank you again, because one of the things we pick up is, and I can kind of understand this, so I'll go back to the point is, well, what transferable skills have I got as a student? Well, you've probably got more than you think. So if you're part of a team, you know, when you talk about managing people, I'm understanding you don't mean that you supervise them. It's just about how you get on with people.
Yeah, both, yeah.
And how you pick up on the fact your mate's not very well or are unhappy, and you go and comfort them, or you work with them. It could be that you've organised the school disco. There's whole things that are happening in school now, which I would suggest that the students just look at, but with a slightly different view. Look at it from a maybe a potential employer's view. So thanks for that on transferable skills. Currently, we're living through tough times, and there's lots of people we hear, lots of misery in the news about how companies are closing down. There's going to be a lot more people in the jobs market than there are jobs. Now, you've lived through other tough times, and you're living through this one, Will. So, given the challenges that already students face in pre-COVID times going into the workplace, what kind of message would you give to them now about getting through the tough times we're living in?
It's
not an easy
one. It's very unusual. It's a hard question because I don't think anyone's in our lifetimes have lived through anything like this before. I think when you apply for jobs, you're going to find it, you probably are going to find it hard. You're going to get frustrating rejections, and sometimes if you get rejections from job applications, they don't give you feedback, and that is really frustrating. But I think you just need to have confidence in yourself that something will come along, because I took so many rejections when I was applying for jobs when I was younger, and it is disheartening. But I think one of the main pieces of advice I can give to people on that is, if you get rejection, try and get hold of the person who was in charge of that application process and try and get some feedback off them, either via telephone or even if it's just an email, because that will give you some invaluable insight into why that employee didn't employ you. So don't just think, I'm not good enough for the job. Because that might not be the case. It might be that you are good enough for the job, but they think that you've got too many skills for this job. So, and especially you're probably going to be tempted to apply for jobs that you're probably overqualified for, which is fine, but just be prepared for rejection, but turn that rejection round into something that you can take benefit from and get that feedback.
Yeah, that's really important. So again, it's taking the positives out of it. And another thing which certainly happened to me in the past, feedback I got was, you were good enough for the job, as were 3 other people. We had to make a decision, so we chose somebody for the job. So it's not about me not meeting the criteria or not being good enough. Now, that doesn't help me at the time, because it is, as you said, it's very soul destroying, you know. But it's a case of, okay, I'm learning, this is a process, my time will come, it will come. Because one thing's for sure, if you do nothing about it other than sit in the corner and just mope, you're never going to get a job. But be under no illusion, it's going to be tough. It is absolutely tough. So all the more reason why, and we've recorded a series, Will, of interviews with local employers about specific topics in the getting of the job, the process of it. So all the more important that the student watching this takes this very, very seriously right from the word go. So thanks very much indeed. So we're nearly coming to an end now. So thank you for that. So I'd just like, if you could do, please, Will, and I know you have already shared loads of wisdom and tips, but what would you say to the year 10s and the year 12s of today who are contemplating their careers?
I would say, don't rule anything out, and try not to be influenced too much by people telling you what you should do, and do what you want to do, because you know, there are a lot of jobs, there's a lot of different careers out there, and there's new careers popping up all the time, especially in this day and age. Do something that you find interesting if you can, and that you have got some passion about, and rather than, I mean, I'm not telling you to ignore your parents or ignore your teachers, because they do have good wisdom, but if you're being told to do one thing but you feel like you've got a passion for something else, then then follow that passion. If you genuinely think you've got the skills for that, then that's what you should go for. So yeah, try not to be bamboozled by people telling you what you should do. If you've got a passion, then you should try and follow that.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the, I still haven't found who said this, but a woman editor in London went to give a talk to school of a girls' school in London, and she was asked that question about careers advice, and she pondered and said, the best advice I can give you is to find something you love doing and get somebody to pay you to do it, and you'll never work another day for the rest of your life. Yeah. So yeah, point taken as well about the other people in the students' lives, the parents and the teachers. It's all very well meant, comes from a place of love, but I guess when you leave school for the next 40 years, it's a long time to be miserable if you're in a job you don't like. Okay, Will, so that's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. So that just leads me to, as I say, remind you that what I'll do is I will send this on to you for your checking, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Rob.